everyone. My name is Saba, aka Ask Miss Q on Twitter, and I am super excited today to have as our guest Stephen Marone. Stephen has an incredibly exciting position, and he is leading an innovative change at his school over in Rhode Island. So, Stephen, welcome.
Hi, Saba. It's very awesome to be here.
Awesome.
Rhode Island right now. I'm in California.
Yeah, you are, and
So,
nice music in the background as well.
yes.
Awesome.
Have some students.
Nice. So go ahead and introduce yourself. You have such a fascinating role. I didn't want to do it for you. And you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everyone what you do.
So my name is Stephen Marone, as Saba told you all. I am currently the assistant principal of Charahoe Middle School in Southern Rhode Island, and my role is unique in terms of what a typical assistant principal does, and I'm in charge of teaching and learning. So I'm directly involved with the curriculum, the instruction, uh, professional development, everything that goes into the classroom experience for the student. Uh, I facilitate and control and work with. So I don't deal with discipline, which is usually the typical role of an assistant principal. But I think the shift is coming where a lot of districts are moving in that change in roles.
Yeah, fantastic. And I love that your school did that. I think it really speaks to like some of the values that you guys hold as a district. The idea that, curriculum, professional development, instruction, everything is all tied together. So to have a leader there to sort of oversee and lead that change, it is incredibly wonderful and shows really how dedicated you guys are to this change that you're currently going through. So, how has your role sort of been impacted as a result of all of these digital technologies? I know you started off as a teacher. Tell us a little bit about that shift.
So yes, I was a teacher, fourth grade teacher and special educator. I also was an elementary principal in the district that I'm currently at, and then coming to the middle school this past year. And part of the reasoning for me wanting to move to the middle school was the one-to-one uh, in a, implementation that we're going through, and I wanted to be part of that process intimately. And so having that elementary experience and then uh, being brings a lot to it. We didn't have a lot of technology down at the elementary level, but we had pieces of it to use. So now I get to kind of really embed myself in it, and we have a lot of great things coming our way with the high school students getting their technology this fall, and then beginning the PD for the middle school staff this fall as part of our implementation plan.
Awesome. So, how has your school sort of gone about embracing digital technologies? You said you started with very little technology, and now you guys are hosting Twitter chats, and you're really getting your community involved. How did your school decide to sort of embrace all of this?
Well, I think it really started with the superintendent and his commitment to wanting to pursue technology and embrace it. And he built he started that culture with the community in terms of getting them involved in the decision making early on and whether or not to even go in this direction. And so while that was happening, I was doing my own little thing, trying Twitter out on my own within my own school when I was at the elementary school, blogging, doing YouTube videos, and then coming to the middle school, there are library media specialists really embrace technology and they infuse it into the things that they do, and the classroom teachers do as much as they can with what they have now. So just tapping into little bits of it at a time, and then spreading the positive good word that it's safe and that it's fun and that it can be life changing in terms of the teaching and learning. Was the seeds were planted early on, and now we're ready to kind of make that big change. But I've been referring to it as a revolution because it really is a revolution, so which is a good thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that really struck me, and it's why I wanted to get your voice out there for so many other administrators or leaders, moving in this direction. And it really is that culture that it seems you guys have been able to create at your school that allows these things, these new technologies, these new things that are coming about in learning to move forward so smoothly.
Hmm. Definitely. And it's been a meaningful and thoughtful process right from the beginning. Again, because the superintendent of schools and the assistant superintendent put, have made sure that every piece of the puzzle, fits perfectly, and that there's not going to be a missing piece because that missing piece could throw it all off. So it's again, bringing the community in, the teachers. So this past year, the high school teachers went through a whole year of professional development before students receive devices, and then they'll go through this year with devices with students, while the middle school then begins their professional development as a staff before our students receive it. And there's that constant reflection and that constant meeting to make sure that everything is right before we just do it. And so that's why it's exciting, because I know I'm part of something that's not just going to, oh, by the way, here's your devices, go and teach.
Right.
We're going to ensure that quality instruction is occurring in the classrooms with devices as tools to enhance that.
Right. No, that's fantastic. And that's exactly really what it should be. The focus should really always be the learning. And so, and again, like I said, devices and whatnot, this is not something new for you. Tell us a little bit about why you're in California right now and on the West Coast.
Oh, so I have a very unique opportunity. For the last 3 summers, I've been able to stay at Stanford University through an organization with People to People, doing a technology summit. And I got involved with very close family friends who are former superintendent and teacher of schools in Rhode Island, and they're retired and created this program through People to People, and now I get to facilitate it and do it. And basically, it's grades 9 through 12 students using robotics as the platform to build leadership skills and to create innovators. And so we have 15 countries represented, 30 states represented here, and they're all working together using their collective intelligences to, create a robot that could potentially change the world. So it's right here in Stanford, so we have access to everything here. So I've been here for 2 weeks. I have another 8 days left, and every day is more inspiring than the previous day. So I'm pretty fortunate.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. And again, that's just what I absolutely loved about, one of our earlier conversations was you could just really tell like how invested your district was in making sure that, learning was really the focus and bringing the best of the best to your students. So you mentioned one other thing, and that was how you as an individual used resources, social media like Twitter, for example, to build that professional learning network. How has that sort of helped you as a leader?
Well, we're always trying to think outside of the box, and in schools we always feel like we're in a box and within your own district. And yeah, and Rhode Island's a small state, so you kind of have a feel to know everybody. But there's also a lot of people who are doing the same thing or similar things in your world of where you teach or work as a principal or so and so forth. In my world right now is Rhode Island. So to branch out, you have to think of creative ways. So that's when a few years back I joined Twitter and started just following ed chats, but I never really participated until more recently, because I was ready to, with the one-to-one planning, I wanted to think of ways that, how are other people doing it, and also not also just using the device, but changing the culture, the mindset of the teacher. And so I started to tap into some ed chats here and there, and then that's how I met you, which has been fantastic.
Yeah.
And other resources that have been made available through Twitter. So that's
Absolutely. And I love this idea that you're modeling this for your other community members. And I know, we participated the other day in, was it your first Twitter chat as a school?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we did
Tell
as
us about that.
so we have a 4-day advance every July in the summer. So all the administration in our school district gets together, and the superintendent and assistant superintendent facilitate really a learning community as the district administration team. So he asked if there were any ideas that we wanted to do. So I said, well, why don't we do a Twitter chat? So he was all about that. And so our theme was revisiting rigor.
Right.
So we wanted to kind of bring our conversation to Twitter to see if other people would tap in so we could learn about what others thought about what rigor means in education. And so we did the hashtag Charahoe Chat. And I tried to invite a lot of different people in. But if anything, it was good practice for us as a team because I was really probably one of the only ones that was familiar with how to do it, and the others maybe were on Twitter, but maybe just follow people. So now we all got to practice with each other, use it as a team, and then we had some fellow teachers join in every now and then. So it was a good little practice test for us as a team to get everybody to kind of start networking on their own, and then we can maybe do more things with it. So everyone had fun after with it. There was a lot of anxiety before, but
But, I have to say, I just absolutely love every time you say something. I love how you always bring it back to the instruction, even in the choice of your chat, choosing rigor and this idea of, again, revisiting learning, revisiting curriculum, the rigor that we integrate into all of that. And best of all, just the way you guys model. I mean, to be able to have a leadership team that sets such an example, I think is so fantastic.
yeah, I was excited when we were able to do that because I definitely want to model how we use it, how I use it to the teachers in my school as part of our professional development for a social media theme when we get to that point, especially for the students too and how they can use it to benefit their own learning because obviously that's why we're there. So that's, and I think if the teachers see that the power of it and how I use it or how other administrators or teachers use it and give them those practice opportunities. So like I wouldn't mind doing like a staff meeting. That's probably what I see as a few staff meetings as a Twitter chat, as an ed chat within as a staff and kind of where people can feel safe about making mistakes or if they can't get online and so it'll be a good experience.
That sounds awesome, Stephen. So why don't you go ahead and let's move on to the next question where perhaps you can share with me, what does professional development look like at your school?
So so the theme, I'm going with the revolution. I thought about that, using that theme per se in like May or June. I was actually researching different people, and it actually came to mind was Madonna, because you think of Madonna as reinventing herself all the time. And so I just started researching actually Madonna and how she reinvented herself. And then I came across like the whole revolution of her, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, the use of technology nowadays in schools is really a revolution in education. And so that inspired me to think, okay, so we not only have to, there's been a lot of focus on the device. How is the device going to work? How are the kids going to use it? Is it going to break? And all that. Well, before we even get to that point, we need to think about the mind that's going to control how we use the devices. So the PD is going to be two-folded. We're going to do a lot of culture shifting, changing the mindset. That's a door alarm. Changing the mindset of the teachers and the staff, and really, diving into conversations about what 21st century learning is and then also working with the tool, getting to understand it, and then how it can be used in the classroom to support learning, just like any other tool that we might use. And we started with a TED Talk in June at the last staff meeting that talked about what 21st century learning, that it's not just digitizing papers, that it's interacting with the child through the tool. And that kind of, we did that as like a reflection piece. We wanted the teacher, and we didn't talk about it. It was like, have a great summer, think about this. And we had them just think about, what are the things that are you going to need as a teacher if you're going to have a tool such as a laptop in front of you? And then how is that going to change you as a teacher?
Right.
And then, so they have the summer now to kind of with that in their mind, and then we'll pick that conversation up when we see them again in September, and continue that, and then build in instruction around the tool and so forth. So that's kind of like the vision, is changing the mindset and also then changing the way you teach.
That's fantastic. And I absolutely love the support that you're giving them in that transition.
Right. So the way we're going to do this is the high school, being at the middle school, we're really benefiting because the high school went through it last year. The same process that we're beginning. So we're learning from them on how they did it, whether if they had mistakes, we can kind of tweak them and so forth. And then we have a one-to-one fellow, Jessica Jeremiah, who oversees the whole one-to-one implementation. And so her and I have been working together on developing the plan. So we also have 9 model educators, which represent each content area. So we have a model educator who will represent the art and music teachers, for example. And the model educators will meet with myself and Jessica every month, and we'll develop as a learning community to help then they'll be those go-to people for the different content areas as another layer of professional development and support for the teachers. So they know that they always have this one teacher they can go to throughout the year to ask questions, share ideas, try out ideas, and feel safe in their own learning curve. My advice would be, I think it's important that it's not rushed. That technology is always going to be here. It's always going to change. So if it's going to be done effectively, I think start with the mind. How do we change the way teachers think about how they use technology? What is it? What questions are we going to ask about the impact in the learning experience? Because if we start just giving devices to students and teachers now without any thoughtful development of how to think in terms of what a 21st century classroom is, then we're going to disservice the kids, and we're kind of just wasting time. So first thing, be thoughtful and meaningful, and really focus. I would focus in on making sure that teachers understand why we're doing this, and before you just do it, and what you're going to use to do it. And I have to give a credit, though. My superintendent, Mr. Barry Ritchie, and the assistant superintendent, Carol Blanchett, they've really been the captains of this ship. And I've been fortunate enough to be in a district that allows me to ride that ship and make it my own in terms of the school I am part of the community in. So, but it's hard to kind of wrap your mind around everything, and it's kind of challenging to communicate everything, because like I know what it looks like in my mind, and I know what the priorities are. I know what the district's priorities are, but to communicate it's one of those things. Like I wish I could just bring you into my office and you could just see my whole entire vision that's mapped out all over the place. But yeah, definitely. I'm really excited to get into the minds of the teachers and really changing the culture and how they think and act as teachers in terms of a one-to-one environment.